G'day and welcome to another edition of Sage of the Dusty Page. Today we're going to talk about the module, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons module, U1, the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. This is again one of my top, favourite modules. We flogged this back in the day, played it many times. It's the premier adventure out of the United Kingdom division of TSR. Way back in the day, 1981. It's written by David Brownie and with Don Turnbull, and it was a sandbox adventure for characters 1st to 3rd level. It's truly a great adventure. It's hybrid, so it's sort of, instead of exploring a cave or a dungeon or something, you're actually outside, you're exploring a creepy house. And then there is some sea caves beneath it, and then you transition into boarding a ship and fighting some pirates. But that's basically the synopsis. I really like the cover art, the bats, the creepy old house, the guys signalling the ship out on the sea. So let's take a look. Well, so there's your map of your sea caves and your house. So the first floor, ground floor, basement, sea caves. You flip it over and you get a map of the ship. So, and here we go, we've got a bit more artwork of the pirates, one of the pirates on the ship. Desolate and abandoned, the evil alchemist's mansion stands alone on a cliff. Looking out towards the sea, mysterious lights and ghostly hauntings have kept away the people of Saltmarsh, despite rumours of a fabulous treasure, forgotten treasure, what is its sinister secret? The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh is the first instalment of a series of 3 modules developed in the United Kingdom for adventures using the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons rules. The adventure can be played by 5 to 10 characters of level 1 to 3, and we've got some maps and all that sort of stuff. But you do note, like 5 to 10 characters. So back when we played, there was only generally 3 or 4 of us, so we always had 2 characters each. Yeah. This is my actually second copy of this module. My first one, it just so tattered, so I've replaced it. And you can generally buy them for about 50 Australian dollars. So you get a bit of a preface, an introduction. I suppose what you don't get here is the actual town of Saltmarsh. The DM needs to develop that themselves, but there's some adventure hooks to try to get you into the adventure, and it just basically a bit of a description of the lay of the land. Some more general notes. It's a lot of text. And and here's those, how do we get the adventures to the module. I quite like, they haven't lodged in an inn, have them lodge in at the inn, but do not let them hear the haunted house yet, blah, blah, blah. So you get the small wandering encounter chart, and then you bump into the haunted house, which has, 20 odd locations. We won't get into the gist of it, but there's, the adventures can take their time. You can keep the atmosphere murky. you know, oppression, dark, gloomy, scary, that sort of thing. Maybe add a weather element. One hook I used to get the players to go to this was they were travelling to Saltmarsh, and on the way, two small children meet the party, and they tell of another child it's disappeared in the haunted house, and the adventurers troop off to go and rescue the child. So yeah, there's a notable NPC, and you get a few spiders, vermin sort of encounters. It's interesting that you get no creature, or you get a few creature stats, I should say, but none of the main ones are all sort of in the back of the module. You encounter some smugglers and their leader in the haunted house. There's also the alchemists. He's hidden away. He died somehow, and there's a few undead and other bits and pieces. But you've got to find the secret passages and so forth. You then move through this. If you find those passages and you get into the natural caverns, and you have an encounter with a spellcaster and some of his henchmen. And that basically, that's the first session of play, if you will. Depending on how the encounters go, you could have lost one or two first level characters, particularly in the combat with the gnolls. But yeah. And then it talks about the smuggling syndicate and how to get aboard. And there's a number of things you can, depending on how the characters got into. They could go back to Saltmarsh and get help from the council. Yes, but you go on board a ship, and that's a pretty tough fight. The captain, they've got another spellcaster there, and they've got a first mate and a bosun, and they're seasoned fighters. And this is the lead into the next adventure. You too, Danger at Dumbwater, is also on this on the boat, and there's an opportunity too to pick up a familiar fairy dragon. So yeah, no, it is so it's a lot packed into 32 pages. That's all I can say. And then if they defeat the smugglers, they also could really stumble into the plot with the lizardmen, and they encounter a sea elf, Oceanus, and he potentially could become another PC, a guy picked up and played by one of the players, or an NPC run by the DM. I can't quite remember. He's fairly powerful. Yes. You then get your roster of your smugglers. So basically it just tells you that they're first level fighters with 8 hit points each, and they've got leather armour, a broadsword or a dagger. There's a couple of gnolls, which are detailed back in the module, and this is where I found it odd that all the human statistics are in the back, but the creatures actually appear through the module. Yes, and there's another NPC, and if the DM brings in the council, they provide additional support in a longboat, but they also want to take a bit of the treasure as well. Excuse me. And then we have the sea ghost, the captain, the mate, the bosun, and another roster of smugglers, and a magic user and some lizardmen. So, like I said, the combat on the boat is pretty tough, and it on more than one occasion went wrong for us. And then a couple of times we captured the boat, and then another time we sunk the boat with, we had a slightly higher level druid, and they used warp wood spell and warped the hull of the ship and sunk it. Yeah. So, and then at the end, as in most modules back in the day, you had this character roster, and depending on what level they were, but I think these are all first level, and which is odd because they have a magic item, which are not, you know, not all of them. Number 18, whatever he was, a dwarf, fighter, thief, but or number 15, but yeah, I don't, first level characters, I don't think that they should have magic items per se, but maybe a few healing potions, yeah, but that's it. I mean, you get a bit more artwork there, setting the scene of the adventuring band going to the haunted house in the middle of the night with a full moon. Pretty eerie. A signalling system and so forth. So that's a nice handout you can photocopy. Oh, it's actually perforated, so you can pull it out if you actually wanted to. And it's got, like I said, got the clues to the second module. And yeah, but all in all, this is a really good adventure. The other thing we did back in the day, we sort of tied it into our Restonford campaign. So we actually just set the haunted house close to Restonford and did it that way. So we had a base to work with. But all in all, it's a pretty good module. So it's been a while, but I'm back. My mother's been quite ill, so I've been away for a good while, just sorting a few things out with her. But I'm back here now, so please like, subscribe, and have a great day. Cheers.